一空之年。My name is Justin Bingham, and I am from the United States, specifically Tennessee.
What actually brought you here?
Well, this is my third time in Japan, and each time's a little different. The first time I came here was in 2010, and that was to study at a university in Fukuoka. The second time was in 2012 in Fukushima as a short kind of volunteer after the disaster. I came here this third time in 2013 to go to Fukushima to teach English. I've been here 10 years now. I started at an eikaiwa in Fukushima, and then I moved in 2017 after meeting my wife. My wife's Japanese, and then we moved to Chiba to be closer to her new job. And at that point, I got a new English teaching job at like high schools and junior high schools. I ended that in 2022, and I started teaching at a nursery in Tokyo. So now I'm an English teacher, but I went from like adults to high school kids now to like little babies. Yeah.
Are you enjoying your job?
Oh, I love it. Like, I honestly think like more foreigners, if you come to Japan, you should try at least once teaching at a nursery, because it's just so fun. You get nap time. Like I sleep in the middle of the day. It's amazing. I love it.
Is there any difference between working in Japan and working in America?
See, honestly, that's very difficult for me to answer because I've never had a full-time job in the U.S. When I came to Japan to work, in 2013, it was my first real job. Before that, I worked at my university. I worked at a computer lab, and then I did a little bit working at a restaurant. But coming to Japan was my first time having a real job. But from what I've seen and heard, it can be very different. The business culture, how you communicate between staff and customers, clients, and it's that part I understand is really different.
I think the most difficult part to work in Japan is the language, because you have to use the keigo and other things in your business place.
Yeah.
Was there any difficulties at the very first beginning?
In the beginning, not so much, because the eikaiwa I worked for is it's fairly international, I think, in terms of the staff and everybody. So you didn't really need to know that much Japanese, let alone keigo. Especially when you were working, they didn't really want you to speak any Japanese, so you're always using English. But now that I work at a nursery, it's not an eikaiwa company. It's not like an ALT English teacher company. It's just a nursery, and I happen to be there teaching English. So now it's kind of difficult because I'm not only talking to all the staff who are all Japanese, but sometimes I have to answer the phones, right? When the parents call, I have to pick up the phone, and then I'll talk to them, and for that I have to use keigo a little bit. And then there's the listening, because sometimes the parents will be busy and they'll speak really quickly, and it's really hard to catch what they're saying. So now it's kind of difficult with language. Many foreigners come to Japan and work at the eikaiwa. You'll be fine with lower levels of Japanese, but if you plan to branch out into other industries here in Japan, it's highly advised that you kind of brush up your Japanese as best as you can. But the longer you live here, the better it naturally will get, I think.
I would like to know, since when you started to learn Japanese?
Well, technically I started when I was a little kid, because my neighbors were Japanese and they introduced me to Japanese culture, but officially was in university. So I think around 2008 I started doing Japanese a little bit in college. And then when I came here, I got a private tutor who helped me out a lot, and then just did a lot of studying on my own.
How do you apply your Japanese in your daily life?
My wife is Japanese, and when we talk, it's like 80%, 90% Japanese. When I talk to her parents, it's in Japanese. And then when I do, my hobby, which we'll get into in a little bit, that's mostly done in Japanese. Yeah, it's like exclusively done in Japanese.
Yeah, what's your hobby?
My hobby is I sing traditional Japanese and Chinese poems. It's called Shigin.
It's very special, especially for a foreigner.
I've been doing Shigin now, I think, close to 9 years. I've only met maybe 5 non-Japanese that have been doing Shigin. So I'd say right now it seems to be pretty rare for foreigners. Yeah.
How did you develop the interest of doing Shigin? I mean, what attracted you?
Flowers. Because actually before doing Shigin, I did Ikebana in Fukushima. And I was doing that for a little bit, and then one day that teacher, she had, I think, one of the Shigin books, and I looked at it and I was like, well, what is this? And she told me what it was, and she sang a little bit. It slightly reminded me of the church music back home in America at the church I was from. And I thought, okay, this is very interesting. This sounds a little bit like Greek Orthodox music. Let me try it. And then from that point on, I just started really, falling in love with the poems and how it's sung and the difficulty of it.
So how often do you do it?
My current sensei, Kaneko sensei, is fantastic. And I think now we do it about 3 times a month.
About the poem.
Mm-hmm.
The content is very difficult for people to understand.
Yeah.
And especially for foreigners. How did you get to understand the meaning of the poem?
I don't. I'm just now starting to really understand some of them. Now, granted, there's an explanation book, and it helps us to kind of understand the meaning because it's written in modern Japanese. But honestly, Google helps. I'm still a long ways away from fully understanding these poems, but that's okay. It's a journey, Do
you think doing Shigin helps you improve your Japanese language?
Oh yeah. Well, I would say first it helps with the Japanese language, but then it also helps, and for me this is slightly more important, is the cultural and I guess you would say psychological understanding of Japanese culture. Depending on the poet and the period of time, like hundreds of years of history, you're seeing glimpses, little like looks into Japanese culture and thinking from different periods of time. So I think that helps give a better understanding to Japanese history, Japanese behavior to some extent.
What's the most difficult part of doing Shigin?
I would say the most difficult part is trying to relate to the theme of the poem and expressing that in your voice. Bensai shuku shuku yoru kawa wataru akatsuki ni miru senpei no taiga o.
How doing Shigin changed you?
Doing Shigin has allowed me, has blessed me with the opportunity to just meet a lot of people because you don't see a lot of young Japanese people doing Shigin, and you don't see a lot of foreigners doing it. So it helps start a conversation. Like, oh, wait, you're a foreigner, you're doing Shigin? Okay, why, right? And so I'd say one thing, it's brought me the opportunity to talk to different people. It's also helped introduce me to different arts, like the biwa, which is like right behind me. I've got to learn a little bit about this instrument. I can't play it, but it's hopefully one day I can learn how to play it. It's introduced me to other people that do other forms of Japanese art, like the koto, the shamisen, the shakuhachi. And it's also helped me really understand kind of aspects of the Japanese mind in a way. So I think that's one of the big things it's brought to me. Opportunities and an opportunity to learn.
In the future, what you want to achieve by doing Shigin?
I want to just share it with more people. That's it. That would be it. The long run, just get as many more foreigners to do this as possible, just so they can experience it for themselves.